Hey guys, we're here on the mats with Shawn Williams. He's going to break down what he calls a 3/4 guard, what other people might call the quarter guard, but it's a very interesting position that we saw Leandro Lo do in the finals of the Nogi Worlds 2012.
Hey guys, so what we're going to do is we're going to do two different things. The first one, I just want to talk about relative guard retention when somebody is standing up over you and not engaged. So Dane's going to stand up over me, and just some cool little details here about your hips. When you guys are looking to get good guard retention, we want to keep the hip angle here less than 90 on at least one leg. If he's disengaged, we like to have both legs. And what I mean by angle is this right here. This would be 90, and this will be less than 90. And if you saw Lo, what he did is very, real nice strategy. He played on his left hip because most people like to pass towards their left. So if he's always on his left hip, he's gonna make the guy pass to their right, which most people don't pass that way. A good majority pass this way. So you saw that with Shanji trying to get around this side. Lo did a very nice job of playing on his left hip all the time and had kept his knees less than 90 and it forces your opponent to come get you, and now you've got your hands, your knees, your everything, all your grips start coming into play, and you got your legs strong. So one really nice bit of guard retention. Keep your hips less than 90 if they're disengaged, and make them come get you so that you can use your hands as well as your feet, okay? We'll go to the floor now, and we'll just go right into what we'll call quarter guard. I'll call it same thing as everybody else. I like to call it 3/4 guard because I'm a fan of he can do much less to me than here than he could if he was in what we call half guard. Like half guard is he's only halfway my guard. 3/4 or quarter guard, I've got my knees shielding him, right? So let's take a look at how we could get in there effectively when someone's squashing you, all right? We saw Shanji a few times get in pretty deep on Lo, and one thing that you're gonna see is a stiff arm, and the most important knee is the top knee. So we're gonna bring the top knee up and open. This top knee, its job is to stay between the shoulder and the head. That's where I need to have it all the time in quarter guard. I don't wanna have it below his face because again, we'll get smashed. We have to push away and open this knee up to make that shield. Our right foot can just be dangling wherever it needs to be depending on his pressure. The more he brings himself into me, the less my foot will be on his hip, because it's important that the knee stays well above the shoulder here. If I'm married to his hip and he starts to lunge forward, he'll get over my knee line and then he'll go into my half guard. So we really have to be more worried about the knee, not the foot. So I want to make sure the knee stays above the shoulder, in between his head and shoulder. If he's not driving, then it's really simple to keep the foot on the hip. If he drives forward, we want to make sure we bring our leg with us, and that way my foot won't be on his hip. So don't marry that foot to the hip. Second thing that Lo did an excellent job the whole match of is controlling this arm. This arm is very important that we control this wrist or bicep or shoulder to not let him get a cross-face grip. Okay? One of the weaknesses of this guard is if the guy cross-faces, sits through over my knee line, and now he's all of a sudden starting to pass. So we want to make sure that we like to control the wrist right here. And one thing that'll make your grip probably about 20% stronger is the way that you hold. If I hold with my thumb like this, it's not going to be a very strong grip. We want to turn our thumb so it's in perfect alignment with the bone of our arm, our forearm, and now your grip will feel like Hercules. So our grip is, again, thumb is in line with the bone. Anytime you guys grab a wrist, grab like this. Don't settle for any grip where your hand is in line with your forearm bone. This will make a huge difference in your game. It's going to come into play in a second here.
For you guys to know, on my side, it really feels like he's bracing here. It's almost less grip, and that the structure of his arm is stopping my arm.
It's good stuff, guys. This is one of the most important details I think about the grip fighting of the quarter guard. Lastly, the left leg here is going to be just barely where my foot is just barely over his calf. Okay? I don't want my knee deep inside his legs here where my foot is hanging over. We want our knee loose so he is not over this knee line. I want to make sure that this knee does not cover that knee line. This knee line always has to be free. Okay, so we've got both knee lines free and we're good to go. We've got several attacks. We'll take a look at a little system from this position. So anytime we feel trouble as well from this guard with wrist control and tricep control, you can bring the left foot to the hip, okay? And if you feel like he is not engaging or you are in trouble, this is where we want to go. Left foot to the hip, pull the arm through, and we have omoplatas, we have kimuras, so forth and so on, which is later in what the kind of the system that we have. Okay, so first of all, quarter guard. Here's what we're gonna go through first. We'll go through an arm drag. We'll do a quick arm drag here. So arm drag is gonna come when our opponent is semi-driving in. Not heavy driving, but semi-driving. We're gonna go and grab our middle finger right into the armpit like a hook. Okay, so I'm gonna open my knee past the shoulder, make sure my forearm is on the inside of my knee. We're keeping this wrist with our good thumb position, and then we're gonna as we open our left knee, I'm gonna start to pull. Once we feel the arm cave in, we're gonna double grab the arm, okay? And then we're gonna close our knee. I'm gonna try to go through some big details here. We're gonna close the knee, and I'm gonna use my foot to lift his wrist. Okay, almost like an arm lock, feels almost like an arm lock. But what that's gonna do is gonna make sure that his arm slides to the inside. Okay, what I don't wanna do is drag this so his arm just goes right to my waist. That'd be putting him in half guard. So when we're ready to do our arm drag, we're gonna open the knee, make sure our forearm is on the inside. We're gonna double grab our hands. We're gonna close the knee, and we're gonna lift with our foot. Now we're gonna have a real simple arm drag right to the back, okay? A very classic move from the quarter guard. So one more time, we'll just look at that arm drag. We've pushed him away, we've dominated the wrist. We slid out to the armpit, and then we change the orientation of our knee to forearm. We open the knee, start our pull. Once we start the pull, we double grab, we close the knee, and we give a lift with our foot at the wrist. This lifts up, and now we drag right by side, and we've got back control, reverse head and arm, or the hook inside the far leg, and we can score our points there. Second move of the system requires us to go down to instead of just at the armpit, we're gonna say that he's cautious of the arm drag, so we're gonna bring our hand down to the wrist with our left foot on the shin, and again, we're gonna go sweep to this way. How we're gonna sweep to this way is we're gonna marry the hand to our wrist here. Okay? I wanna make sure there's no slack in this movement, so we're gonna make sure there's no slack on the shoulder to the wrist. You can do this hand in two different positions here, one with the wrist or one when he is underhooked. And again, same wrist control. You can get a very similar sweep with two different arm positions. We're gonna make sure we have a good grip on the wrist. We're gonna just pin it to our hip. This knee goes to the mat, but the most important leg is our inside knee. So the knee is free, and we're gonna do what we call crowbar. This foot's gonna go on the mat, and I'm just gonna put my knee up, which should be on this side of his stomach, in between the hip and stomach. And then we're just gonna put both knees to the floor. All right, and we give a nice sweep here. To make sure that this foot touches the mat the whole sweep. So this crowbar is gonna go foot on the mat, and my knee is gonna point to this way. Rather than trying to lift, Danes, we'll get it to where we can see the foot position. So the crowbar movement is this. So he cannot base this leg out, okay? So what the move looks like, again, is we've got quarter guard. We're gonna make sure this hand is by our hip. We're gonna go 1, 2, and up we come. We wanna make sure that we get ready to underhook the leg or this arm, because we're probably gonna end up in half guard, or he's gonna try to come up on a single pretty quickly. So we wanna make sure that we get this underhook nice and sharp. We end up usually in a half guard with that sweep, which is no problem. Lastly, we'll just go back to our omoplata. We'll say that we're in a little bit of trouble, and then we'll look at what happens if he gets the knee line. So if I do feel like I'm in a little bit of trouble, I'm not able to arm drag, I'm not able to get this, he starts that drive. We make sure, again, we have our wrist. We bring the left foot out to the hip now. Back that up so he cannot drive forward. And then we're gonna shoot this through. Now, anytime we shoot omoplatas, it's important that my elbow stays on the inside between his arm and my leg. If I'm here, we're not gonna get that omoplata. I wanna make sure that the arm's making sure that we trap the arm on the outside. And when we shoot it, my elbow is down so he cannot bring the arm to the front of my body, right? Once we're there, nice heavy knees, our typical omoplata position here. We can sit up and finish like we looked at a few weeks ago. One of the best finishes is indeed hugging the head and arm with a C-clamp grip and just finishing by coming up. Lastly, can we look at one more?
Absolutely.
Lastly, let's take a look at if he gets through your knees, right? So that you're covered on all the bases. And this is gonna be a big one, is gonna be this wrist control. So we get quarter guard and he drives forward, gets over the knee line, okay? Here's what we wanna make sure happens. Again, the arm, the control of this arm is crucial here. It's really gonna stop a lot of his offense. So as he's driving and gets over this knee line, as long as I have this wrist, this knee is gonna be free, okay? Even if he pushes on the knee with his hand, as long as I go get the wrist with my thumb grip, we can move our hips out to the side. And again, we can bring our knee through the middle. This is very important that we have good wrist control on this arm, because what that's gonna set up is I stiff arm that wrist, we keep the right foot on the hip, we move our hips out to the side, and I just push this hand into this hip, right into his own hip, and you see the knee is free now. So let's take a look at that little movement again. Even if he's pushing on the knee, we move our hips backwards while we push, and you see my knee go free. Once the knee goes free, we bring the knee out. First the knee comes out, then the right foot goes to the shoulder, and now we bring ourselves back to omoplata or triangle, whatever you wish there. This one is a great one. It's one of my favorite things to do, even if he is in half guard, as long as we control this wrist. But from 3/4 guard, it's a no-brainer. If I mess up that position, if he drives over my knee, as long as I have this wrist, we're good to go. I like it when people push on the knee, because then we just do our hip movement out backwards. He loses the knee, foot comes up to the shoulder, and this knee line is nice and safe, right? We bring it right by, and we look for our omoplata with our sit up and our hug of the head. We finish.
So do you feel like you're gluing when I push, you're gluing my wrist to my hip?
Yeah, perfect. I wanna stick your wrist right to your own hip, so you cannot hold my bottom knee in.
Okay.
So some cool little things from the quarter guard there. What I like to call the 3/4 guard, because I believe it's very, very offensive in nature.
Absolutely. Shawn, thank you so much. You shared a lot of information with us. You guys out there have a lot of things to drill now. If you want to see Leandro Lo doing some of this stuff in competition, it was the finals with Shanji Hibero. That's available on the replay of the 2012 Nogi Worlds. It's about 20 hours of footage for $11.95 on BudoVideos.com. Guys, we'll be back next week with another episode of This Week in BJJ. Shawn, thanks again for coming in.
Thank you, thank you.
That concludes this installment of This Week in BJJ. Subscribe on iTunes, watch and review past episodes, and then be sure to join us again next Friday night, right here for another live edition of This Week in BJJ.